Yeah. Hey guys, welcome to Overpress. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jake. I like how you added to the sound effects. It reminded me of my kid like playing Hot Wheels, which that was what you were doing right there.
That's what we're doing still, isn't it?
It's a good sounding car though. I will say that.
Yeah,
the
that's basically
RSR on our intro. Yep.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yep, my audio is recording. I've been kind of working up a new thing because YouTube would not play, and I really wanted to play this clip for you guys. Okay. So I worked up a new thing. So I was just making sure my audio is recording. But I guess if you can hear me, Jake, it probably is.
Yeah, I would say that's hopefully the case.
All right, I want to play a clip for you.
Okay.
And I kind of tell the story of what was the inception of this episode where I talked to Oliver Schwab, who's our guest today. And he is head of the GT4E Performance Program for Porsche.
Okay.
Do you know this car?
GT4 is a Cayman race car, but E must mean it's just electric.
Yeah,
yep,
it's
718
pure
GT4, but it's electric.
Dual motor, 1,000 horsepower.
1,088, I saw.
Yes, 1,088. I was just trying to be a round number, but that's fine. And
okay, yes.
I'm going to play the way that this thing sounds to you, and I want you to tell me what you think, okay?
Okay.
Here we go.
Sounds better there. Oh God.
Just in the pit lane here.
Yeah.
Okay, so the point I want to get across here is when you hear this stuff on the internet, it doesn't sound great. Like,
no,
that
it didn't
sound great.
That didn't sound great. No, especially when we were just listening to like some old air cooleds flying by. That does not sound good in comparison at all.
Right. So here's the thing. This thing sounds absolutely incredible in person.
Really?
Yes. What do you think you're hearing right
person?
there? What is the sound that you think that you would be hearing in that clip?
So that sounds, well, what it is, it sounds like gear train for some reason.
It is.
Which I'm trying to figure out why there is any
I thought when
gears.
I heard this thing, I'm like, oh, I'm hearing EV, like fake EV noise or something, right?
Oh.
You think that's kind of like what you're hearing is you're hearing some sort of fake EV, like the whine that they have to program in them to work.
Yeah. No, that wouldn't be the case in a race car for sure. But I'm trying to figure out now why there would be any sort of like gearbox on an electric car, period, right?
Well, there is a gearbox on an electric car because you have to drive the differential, right?
Okay.
So you've got a differential there, and it is a straight cut gear, and this is what you hear.
So that is what you're hearing is just the differential gear.
You're just hearing that gear. That's it. It's just that it's the gear that drives the wheels is what you're hearing.
Okay, interesting.
And it is monstrously loud, like super loud. So
I suppose also because like with normal race cars, sure, you still have straight cut gears, but the motor will, usually drown that out. Whereas the electric motor's silent except for the gears.
That's exactly right. So you watch like in-car videos of old DTM stuff or GT cars or whatever, and all you hear is the gearbox. The gearbox is so loud that you can't even hear the engine.
Okay, so that's all we're hearing right now is just
that's
that
all you're hearing
train.
Right there is the gearbox. And I just wanted to play that because
so
I
are you saying it sounds
guys,
good in person? That's what sounds good is the gear whine?
It sounded, I don't want to say it like, this does not, no matter what it is, it does not sound better than a combustion engine. It just doesn't. Okay, so that's kind of what we're after. But it did drive my curiosity.
Sure. Okay, I like that.
And it drove my curiosity to go over to this was at Rensport.
Yep.
To go over to the booth where this car is, and the Porsche has it set up in this little thing where they got like a bunch of dudes and telemetry and all this stuff that are working on this thing. And this is a prototype. Okay, so there's like two of these. This is a prototype car that is basically the first demonstration of what they're going to do for like a customer e-performance program, like a GT2 RS Club Sport, or like
so this is going to be the club racing car,
club racing cup, like that type of thing. And so I met Oliver, and the first thing I noticed is he just does have really good hair, and I wanted to show you, just because your
Wow.
hair is so good. This is
Yeah.
Oliver. Look how great his hair is. I was talking
Yeah,
about
that's
in
some
person.
good
We were
hair. I
talking about
appreciate that.
talking
Yeah,
about
look
his
at
hair.
that.
He's just
Oof.
a really good.
Well, that's Patrick Dempsey also has good hair. But I like his hair. I'm a big fan of this guy already.
Yeah. He does have
Okay,
beautiful
so you're
hair.
talking to Oliver with the good hair.
I talked to
And
Oliver with the beautiful hair, and
after you heard the GT4E go around the track at
I
Red
had to go find it. And
Okay.
the car is genuinely cool. And I wanted to revisit the thought of like what makes a cool car again
Yep.
with you, Jake. And what do you think makes a cool car? What is cool?
It has to be exciting.
That is what it boils down to. That's it. That's
Yeah.
exactly the word that I was going to do.
Right.
Is it drives curiosity and excitement.
Yep.
That's what makes a cool car to me, because there are so many variations of cool. Like I think an F40 is cool. I think my
Right.
911 is cool. I think a Rabbit
Right.
Diesel is cool. They all
Sure.
drive like some sort of curiosity and excitement to me. Like a Rabbit Diesel is exciting to me because of the nostalgia I have with it, right?
Sure. Right. And so it's
So I've got-
very, that's where cool becomes very subjective, right? Because it's your experiences
Right.
and influences. But
Right.
generally, you can say that a car being cool has to be exciting,
And
or at the very least interesting.
yes, and this did excite me. And I watched a few videos of it doing like total four-wheel burnouts, and I think burnouts are marginally cool. I'm not like a big burnout guy, but the performance is there. And I
Right.
still, like, if you think we've been around like almost 500 episodes now, like 5 or 6 years doing this, and I think about where we started and what
Yep.
my feelings were on EV when we started this.
Oh, yeah. No, I
Which-
remember.
They were extremely rough. Like, what are we doing? This is the end of the world. Oh my
Yes.
God. And I do
Yes.
still have like major trepidation. My major trepidation doesn't come with EVs coming along. It comes with the phase out of what I love.
Right.
Right. And let's say that happens. Let's say they phase out what I love and I just become this rebel driving around in my 72 911. I still think that we should try and find a way to look at this stuff and find the cool in it.
Sure. Okay.
Do you
I'm
think
with
that
you.
this car is cool? This Cayman, the 718 GT4.
I will tell you, it looks cool. It is probably extremely cool from a capability and performance perspective. It certainly doesn't sound. Maybe it does sound cool. It sounds interesting. We'll say that, and so therefore, maybe it's exciting. Yeah, I would say it's cool. I guess
It's a cool car.
it's a cool car.
Can we admit that it's a cool car?
This is a cool car, Chris.
Oh, wow. I think that's the first time I've ever said that about anything EV.
That's like,
Right?
I like how that's such a milestone and an epiphany.
Like, I don't think the Taycan is cool. I don't think a
No.
Model 3 Performance is cool. I don't think a Model 3
No.
Plaid is cool.
No,
I mean, the Model 3 Plaid is fast, but it doesn't look good.
no.
You know, you
this,
gotta,
This is
like-
a proper performance car that happens to be electric. It's not an electric car that can perform. You understand
Let
the
me-
distinction there?
Yes. Let me pull up a couple of pictures so people can kind of see what we're looking
What
at
we're
here
on
is in
about. I'm
terms of.
trying to figure out the drivetrain. I want to see like how it's built around there, what it has for batteries. Ooh, I think I just got it.
View some photos. I'm on the Spanish Car and Driver website right now.
Ooh, Espanol. Sí.
Espanol. It's not going to give us photos because we're on the Spanish one. But
Okay.
here, I mean, look at this thing. It is a pretty cool looking car. It's all utility,
Yeah, for sure.
which I think is pretty rad. There we go. View gallery. Wow, look at how big these photos are. Aren't these photos enormous? So it does look. It looks cool.
Absolutely.
The lighting is like whatever. I mean, I really don't. Not a fan of the LED
the actual headlights. You hate, you
headlights,
hate
but
their
I
headlights,
understand
is
why
what
they
you're telling me.
exist on an electric car, because having a halogen bulb would draw like way too much power for an EV system.
Yeah, you definitely need LEDs. Yeah, it's interesting seeing like a 4-wheel burnout on a car like that, because you're not used to, I don't know, seeing a 718 be all-wheel drive. But the fact that electric motors themselves are very light, right? So
Yes.
it's much
Well, the
easier
batteries
and
are
lighter
heavy.
to make a car four-wheel.
It's a
Yeah,
trade-off.
all-wheel
What do you
drive.
think this thing weighs?
That's what I was wondering, because it's
We
the
talked about it.
batteries that
I
make
talked about it
these
with
things
Oliver.
heavy.
Dude, it is. Oliver was awesome. He's really candid, and it's a great interview. We talk about the weight and everything. What do you think it weighs?
I mean, so much of that depends on the range. Like, what type of I'm prefacing my guess because like
Got to
this
be
is a
able to
race
do like.
car
I think it's got to
meant
be
to
able to
do
do. So it's based off like
session.
customer racing, cup
Right.
racing, whatever, which is a 25-minute race, 25 to 30-minute race. So it's got to be able to last.
It's
somewhere around that line.
It's over 4,000 pounds, less than 6. I'm hoping.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna leave that open, and people can listen to the interview and hear how much it weighs, and I will tell you off air, or we'll talk about it when we get back because we're gonna do like a nice little outro thing.
Yep.
Before we do it, what have you got for us?
Yeah, something else that is undoubtedly cool is Petrolbox, which is a monthly service made specifically for the automotive enthusiasts.
Am I gonna take flack for thinking this car is cool?
No,
you think?
No one's gonna. No, we're so far behind the curve. No one's gonna be like, that's dumb. That is not cool. You're finally becoming somewhat reasonable, Chris.
You consider this reasonable?
Yeah, this is reasonable.
Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
Each month, Petrolbox carefully selects items, including tools.
I have to carefully
detailing
protect
supplies.
my image as a crabby, grumpy man.
I know. And
I'll have
we're
to
just
find
chipping
something
away.
else to be.
You're becoming so boring, Chris. I know.
Yeah, I'll have to find something else to be
Mainstream
crabby
Chris. Oh, I'm not worried about that one bit. Believe me.
Not crabby about Petrolbox.
No, Petrolbox, they include detailing supplies, t-shirts, apparel, pins, collectibles, tools, detailing supplies, the latest and greatest gear in the industry, and they send it right there to your doorstep each and every month. That's what makes it so exciting. There's 2 different levels to choose from. Petrolbox Basic costs less than $20 a month, while Petrolbox Premium gets you even more gear for $39.95 a month. Check them out at Petrolbox. You can, of course, use our code OVERPRESS. That'll get you a discount as well. You know, one thing that electric cars do need, and I was actually looking at the drivetrain on this GT4E a little bit, and what you don't think about is still all the cooling capacity, right?
Yeah,
like there's massive radiators.
This thing's oil cooled. The batteries are oil cooled. It's not water cooled.
Just like an air cooled car. I
thought that was kind of neat, right?
That is very cool.
Of course, they said in partnership with ExxonMobil, they're oil cooled.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like
one's
that.
our partner too. So
yeah.
Well,
speaking of cooling, someone else that is moving into the electric cooling space is our friends over at CSF Cooling. They've always been at the forefront of quality of products for a fair price with a rich history stretching over 7 decades. They provide the best high-performance and OEM Plus cooling systems on the market today. CSF offers over 3,000 different cooling applications. I feel like I should say 3,000 and counting because we know they're always in development of what's coming up.
Right.
You know, they include the most popular makes and models on the road, from classic copper, brass radiators you can still get.
Someone with a Veyron. I mean, those have a ton of radiators.
Too many, heat exchangers, as you would call them, right? So thousands of different radiators, copper, brass stuff they still make for the old Land Cruisers, Jeeps, and Datsuns. They also have your vintage 80s Mercedes, BMW, Audi, and Porsche platforms.
10 radiators, Jake. Veyron, 10 radiators.
I thought it was even more than that, to be honest.
It's
I knew
10.
it was.
Well, that's
I knew
radiators.
It was
I'm sure there's oil coolers and stuff too.
Right. Check out their Classic Series lineup at CSF Cooling. That is expanding every single day, as I said. Be sure to check them out. CSFrace.com or, of course, on social media, CSF.
All right, I'm going to play this this little clip. This is them at Goodwood before we have Oliver on.
Scaringly fast. If you have a car with that power, people will love it. I think it's like a laboratory, This is how a future customer e-racing car would look like. Even with electric cars, the future can be fun.
The idea for us is very much to develop the customer racing sport of the future. Everybody's really excited to first reintroduce this car to the public. To do it at a spot such as Goodwood is something that makes us very excited, and we can't wait to go out here for the first time.
Nice buffering.
Well, that's
I think
a
I need a new
place
computer.
to stop
Jake.
it right there. I think you do too.
I think it's.
No, let's stop it right there. I think
Well, I
that's a
wanted
great
to watch
segue.
it run up Goodwood.
Oh, well, you don't get to. There we go.
It's not only the car.
Yeah, this is
All we're getting is commentary and
buffering,
music.
Unfortunately,
Yes,
yeah,
and buffering. Nope, I think let's go into and hear straight from the source from Oliver. I'm excited to hear about this thing.
All right, let's go. Mr. Oliver Schwab, how's it going, man? It's my pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Chris, the pleasure's all mine. How are you, mate?
I'm doing very good. I cannot get over the experience that I had at Rennsport. So I had to reach out to you, and I kind of want to explain a little bit about how this happened and how it occurred to me to go find whoever was in charge of this thing making all this noise. So here I am. Just imagine me. I'm up above the straight at Laguna Seca working. I'm shooting photos for Porsche. So I'm in this tent taking pictures of people that are, having drinks and stuff like that. And I just hear, I go, it sounds like there's a Learjet about to crash on the straight at Laguna Seca. What is that sound? What is that sound?
That's
so
not an image you're painting there, but okay.
yeah. Well, it's like, and yes, obviously nothing bad happened, but that's what it sounded like. It sounded like it sounded like an airplane, like about to not crash, but land. Let's go with that. Let's go with, instead of crashing, let's go with landing. There's about a Learjet about to land on the straight at Laguna Seca. So I run over to the fence and I look, and I see a Cayman drive by, and I went, "Holy shit, that thing actually sounds really good." And it struck me because as like a guy, I have a 72 911 old air-cooled car. I'm a big fan of the air-cooled stuff, always have been. And it was the first time that I had curiosity with an EV. The first time. I've driven a Model 3 Performance. I've been in a Rivian, a super fast Rivian, and it scared the hell out of me. It was so fast for a truck, but I wasn't curious. And the Cayman GT4E made me curious. So then I'm like, okay, what is this sound? How many watts is it for the speakers that are making the sound in this car? So then I run over there and I find you, and you tell me that it is just the way the car sounds. And that's kind of how this started is meeting you there and learning about the car a little bit. It's a really important time for Porsche, and that car I think is really, really important you guys are doing. And the first thing I want to ask you is, what is it like to be part of Porsche at such a critical time for this company?
Well, for us, obviously, it's a huge motivation, especially working at Motorsport, to say that we can play our part again, that when such a shift of technology is coming up, that we can very much fulfill a role again at Motorsport as we've always done it. Because looking at why we do Motorsport at Porsche, there are two very simple reasons. I mean, the first potentially obvious reason is that in motorsport, when it comes to developing new technologies, we can be so much more flexible, and when we can react so much quicker to developments than our colleagues of the street car development. And obviously also entering into a competition in motor racing, you always do get a direct and immediate feedback in terms of success. So if you develop something successfully, you will win the race or you will win the competition. If you didn't, we have to go back. You have to do your homework and start from scratch again. And that, of course, is also why we say motorsport has always been part of our DNA, and always what I guess also differentiates us from other brands. And then to come back and say, now looking at what is happening on let's say the overall scene in the automotive industry, where we have to shift from combustion engines to electric vehicles. Of course, it's our responsibility again to continue to play that part. And yes, therefore it's that motivating for us to play our role and say, okay, we'd like to contribute as much as possible to the success of the overall company. And personally speaking, to be part of such a pioneering project is something that you can only wish for, and therefore it's quite a privilege for all of us to be part of that.
Yeah, I just imagine back, when was the last time? I mean, there's only been a few times in not just Porsche's history, but automotive history where landmark things happened. I think the development of fuel injection was not even close to this leap, but it's, it was a big move from like carburation and MFI to fuel injection. Other than that, I can't really think of too many times where there was such a landmark shift in the technology, right? Because I mean, this is everything. Everything is changing, and I think this is the big question for everyone. And me as an enthusiast is, I think one of the biggest struggles people have is they feel like they're losing something with EV rather than gaining something. They're losing their love for, or they perceive it that way, and they're holding on pretty tight to combustion engines. And I think some people have trouble drawing the line from the heritage of the air-cooled stuff and the motorsport there to something like the GT4E Performance. Like they can't draw the line in their mind. I know I had a lot of trouble doing that for a long time. Like I said, being curious about this is a great first step to being able to draw that line from where Porsche was to where they are. How do you guys in this program bring the heritage of what Porsche has always been into this new EV realm with the GT4E and beyond?
To be honest, from a mindset point of view, nothing really changed, because if you look at the history of the brand, if you look at the history also how we operated in motorsport, we always looked at new technologies coming along. We always looked at new ideas basically to take up, such as, for instance, if you look back only a few years with the GT3R hybrid that we introduced, and we said, okay, with new technologies, new ideas, how can we take this up and how can we run it successfully? Firstly, in motor racing, to make sure the technology is very well running from a performance point of view, but how can we also make sure that what we learn on the street, on the race car side, how can we also transfer that into the road car at some point? And therefore, yes, for sure, the way how the engines are being powered now, it looks like it's a huge step, or it's actually a huge leap from the combustion engines to the electrically powered vehicles. But in fact, it's just a different technology. But the overall parameters for us to look at very much have remained the same.
Yeah. So one of the things that has always differentiated Porsche in terms of engineering is the engine, right? You've got these flat six engines or a 4-cylinder engine, back into the 912 era. And it was a very unique thing for Porsche. And is there something lost when the diversity of the combustion engine goes away? Because you've got V8s, V6, inline 6, V12, flat 6. You've got all these different ways to do the engineering and to chase power, right? You chase power. That's what it was always about, especially in motorsport. You're chasing power, chasing performance. With EV and a motor, how do we chase power? Because the GT4E's got 1,000 horsepower, 600 horsepower in actual, I guess it would be qualifying spec would be 1,000 horsepower.
We call it party mode. Yeah, exactly.
Party mode. Okay. And then just being out on the track, you've got 600 or something horsepower. But horsepower is easy now. Where is is there a lack of diversity that's going to happen? I guess I should say that one of the disappointing things for me is the lack of diversity with engineering. Am I missing something, or do I just not understand how this stuff works?
Well, what we did, because what we speak about here, what we look at here is customer racing. And when looking at the big picture, where we said, okay, how can we contribute from our side into the big picture of the shift towards electric vehicles, we said, okay, let's also have a look at what we can do in customer racing. And looking what we've done very successfully, fortunately, over the more than the last 30 years, is that we've run one make series with the 911 GT3 Cup. And therefore, we said, in order to set some sort of a vision and some sort of define some sort of a blueprint, we said, okay, let's take the performance of the GT3 Cup for the duration of a regular sprint race in one of our one make series, so roughly 25 to 30 minutes. And let's take that performance and let's mirror that with an EV. And that was sort of the development goals, for our engineers. And yes, for sure. I mean, with EVs, power sometimes is not that much of the challenge, but the running time is actually the big aim and the big target to look for. And what we have achieved, and what also, let's say, the key technical USP of the GT4E Performance is that together with our partner ExxonMobil, we've developed an oil-cooled drivetrain. So very much instead of having an air-cooled vehicle or a water-cooled vehicle, we have developed a special oil cooling system that prevents any thermal derating to come in. Because as you know, for let's say regular EVs, at some point you face the challenge that the battery, the inverter, or the motors will start to become too warm. So therefore, you need to reduce the power output.
Yeah, I would remember that with my little RC cars. I'd have my turbo tracks back in the day, right? And it was this little RC car, and it had a tank tread around the wheels. And you'd be driving that thing around for a while, and the battery would die, and it would get slower. It would, and then you pull the battery out, and you're like you can't even hold the battery. You're like tossing it from hand to hand, trying to plug it in, and all this. I mean, that's it,
the
man.
same thing when it happens with the blender, when, I don't know, you're crushing too much ice or making too many margaritas, that at some point the motor just becomes too warm, you know. And that is something that we have with this oil cooling that we've developed, we prevent from happening, and therefore we can actually run that distance of up to 30 minutes, depending on, of course, whether we are running at the circuit, like, I mean, the European circuits I'm more familiar with, to be honest, but of course it does make a difference. If you run at Monaco, for example, where you have more braking zones, and naturally you can also recuperate more power, or you're somewhere at Monza or Spa, where just the parts with full throttle are a bit longer. But this is definitely one of the big achievements that we've done with the GT4E Performance. And therefore, yes, power maybe is easier in the first step to be built up, but now it's about how do you, first of all, recuperate power smartly, but also how do you make sure that you can use as much of the power without any limit as anyhow possible. So I think these are some of the challenges that we're facing, and that in some areas we've mastered, or in the major areas we've mastered quite successfully.
Yeah, the car is definitely fast. When I look at so you got a 25 to 30 minute race. There's 30 cars, I think, in like a cup race. There's is that right? There's 30 cars?
Depending on where you are, but I'd say in average somewhere in between 22, 23 and 30, 32, yes. Sure.
Okay, so there's around 25 to 30 cars or whatever. I'm imagining 25 or 30 GT4Es at, let's say, they do club racing all over the place. They do cup racing all over the place. Let's say we're at Road Atlanta. Okay, so we're doing these races, and just like the real world, I feel like the infrastructure to charge up, 25 GT4Es just isn't there. Is that something that you guys are working on with some of the tracks to make sure that the infrastructure is going to be able to support events like this?
Our, let's say, the headline of what we do at the moment is to develop customer racing of the future, or electric customer racing of the future. And of course, a major part of it is the development of the vehicle and of the technologies within the vehicle. But what we say is we are just at the starting point now. When you look at customer racing, I mean, it's naturally you have the teams and the drivers as our key customers. But on top of it, there are so many more stakeholders around, or stakeholders involved in the business, whether it's race promoters, whether it's the circuits, whether it's the authorities, but of course also fans and media. And as you rightfully say, we're just at the beginning of the development, and the development of the infrastructure is also a major part of it. And therefore, what is happening at the moment with the world tour of the GT4E Performance is, on the one hand, yes, we introduce the technology of the car. We do our best to emotionalize people as successfully about the concept as we fortunately managed to do with you. But on top of it, we also very clearly want to By the way, we always refer to it as a fighter jet, not as a Learjet, but we can still work on that. But
Okay, fighter jet. Yeah, that's true.
But on top of it, of course, we also, and that's a key part of the program is we want to establish a dialogue with these stakeholders, because everybody individually has its own challenges. Infrastructure, for example, for the circuits and for the promoters. But for the promoters, of course, it's also, do we continue with the same race formats as we have them today? Do we need to adjust something in order to also spice it up for the audience? How is it for fans? Is it something with naturally the sound being different than people are used to with combustion engines, that we need to adjust something in this direction to say that also the event in itself must be transformed? And these are the discussions that are going on at the moment. And we have not reached a conclusion there, because, as I said, we just started this program. We started the demo tour last year in June in Goodwood at the Festival of Speed in the UK, and since then we've established this dialogue. And for us, the key thing really is to listen and to learn and to understand the expectations and to be fully aware of the challenges, because naturally there are quite a few that we're looking at
everybody's
as
gonna
a
have to
whole
work
industry,
together.
not us only as an OEM, but as an entire automotive, and if you want, a motorsport industry.
Yeah, because eventually, I mean, this is customer racing. Sure, that's a great way for you guys. I'm imagining that's a great way for you guys to get the budget to do it in the first place. But eventually, this is going to, get into, GT racing. This will be something. I was going to ask, like, how long is it, do you think? I mean, this is a big hypothetical. How long is it till we're doing the 24 hours of Le Mans? Like, how far away are we from doing something like that?
At least we know how long the 24 hours of Le Mans will be running itself. No, it's as I said, there are quite a few areas that we need to look at, and charging for sure is one of the topics. On the other hand, also quite openly speaking, the handling complexity that we're looking at the moment is still too let's say extensive for a regular customer racing team to do, because at the moment we're still doing operations are like basically as we would have them with the operations of the factory team. So it requires at least 6 people. I mean, the telemetry engineers, performance engineers, and so forth, to run the car. And of course, to look at that from a customer racing point of view, the less people you have to enter a car, to work on the performance setup of the car, the more money, or the more efficiently you can spend the money. So that's an area that we need to focus on. Running costs.
Yeah, I mean, the guys just show up in a GT2 RS Club Sport. It's just boom, it's there. They don't need anybody. They just hop in the car and they just drive it.
On top of it, parts pricing, of course, is also. I mean, when it comes to running costs, again, this is also. Do you look at a prototype as we do at the moment with the 2 GT4E performance prototypes that exist at the moment in the world, or is that similar to the GT3 Cup, where basically we build more than 500, 600, 700 cars per model generation, and that is one of the key things and one of the key aspects that always needs to be involved. Is there partnering road car where we can share development costs, where we can share parts prices, and where we can keep the overall cost just let's say more economical from a customer racing team point of view. So this is also aspects that we are working on, and these aspects we also need to tackle, besides, let's say, the lasting or the distance that we can cover before we then get to the point to say, okay, when it really comes to endurance racing, no matter whether it's 6, 12 or 24 hours at some point, how can we also get closer to these matters? This is what I mean. There is an incredible amount of challenges that we're still facing and that we still haven't solved yet. And for sure, ourselves, we won't be the only ones or we will not be able to solve them on our own. And therefore, we do need to involve these partners. We do need to have this open dialogue with all the stakeholders around to make sure, with also their individual expectations at the development, we can all chip in together and make sure that mutually we develop solutions for these challenges.
So do you have like a special red phone that when you pick it up, you just talk to Mercedes and you go, "Hey guys, what are you guys doing over there with that Mercedes black AMG thing? We want to make sure that we can race together later." Do you guys have like buddies at Mercedes and BMW that you guys are working with to make sure that this is, or is it super like, we don't talk to anybody? We're like, what's the, you talk about stakeholders, obviously Mercedes, BMW, Corvette, Chevrolet, all these people are going to want to race. Do you talk to anybody?
Who we look at is, I mentioned before when it was about the blueprint for the development of the concept, we said, okay, we have a look at what we do in our one make series segment with the Carrera Cups, with the sprint challenges, but also with the Super Cup. And there, it being a one make series, obviously we are the only involved manufacturer, but already in this segment, I mean, there are so many parties around, as I said, the circuits, the race promoters, but also, of course, the authorities, and they are the ones that we talk to and that we speak to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure your competitors are looking at this car. I am sure they are going, okay, that is the, they look at the mission concept and they're like, okay, that is the competition that we have. This is what Porsche is going to be bringing to the table. I mean, I know it's a customer racing vehicle, but I'm sure everybody's eyes are wide open. So tell me about the car a little bit. We haven't talked about the car. What's the performance? How much does it weigh? What can we, what kind of metrics do we have to learn about this car a little bit?
Well, as I said, blueprint for development was the 911 GT3 Cup. Performance of the Cup car is 500 brake horsepower at roughly 1,300 kilos, and this was also let's say.
Let me convert kilos to freedom units for a second here. 13,000 kilos in pounds. Yeah. I gotta look that up. Okay, 2,800 pounds. All right.
And the weight of the GT4E Performance is a little more than 1,500 kilos.
Okay.
Which is how many pounds?
3,300 pounds.
And therefore, in race mode, in order to run for these 25 to 30 minutes, of course, we required a little bit more than 600 brake horsepower. So that, let's say, is the fundamental performance.
I'm looking up the curb weight of my Golf R yes. All right. So I assumed my Golf R is the same, was around 3,200 pounds. It's 3,300 pounds. So this EV thing, all the batteries, it obviously doesn't have a motor and transmission, but you guys got other things going on, weighs the same as my Golf R. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, what does a Model 3 Performance weigh? Tesla...
Obviously, we would have loved to be underneath 1,500 kilos. This is for sure, because the colleagues are all performance engineers, and of course, the lighter something can be, the better. But again, if you put that into comparison with the weight of regular EVs, I mean, that's
a Model 3 Performance weighs 4,000 pounds. 4,000 pounds. So you're 700-800 pounds less than like a Model 3 Performance street car.
And
so, I mean, that's
that is the power output with these 610, 615 brake horsepower. That's the power output that we can run, depending on how much we can recuperate for these 25 to 30 minutes. But then the beauty is, if we reduce the driving time, we can very much increase the power output, and then we get to what we quickly touched before, that qualifying mode, or what we internally call the party mode, and then we can have up to 1,100 brake horsepower, and then we're definitely not talking about a Learjet anymore. Then it's definitely in the fighter jet region.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is also
that's time attack mode, really, right? Well, I mean, that's just head out and do a time attack and flat out see what lap time we can set.
We are the let's say the very motivating outcome that we achieved in Goodwood at the Festival of Speed was that we were, or up to today, we are still the fastest Porsche ever to participate there at the hill climb. And it's coming back a little bit to the sound. I mean, what we've also experienced is what is quite important when it comes to the sense of sound of a race car. Also, it's you do need to have some sort of a feedback, whether a car is accelerating, whether a car is decelerating, whether a car is at full speed, whether a car is at high speed. And as we managed to do this with the GT4E performance, we've received quite a lot of positive feedback on the sound, which, frankly speaking, was one of the aspects that we were most cautious of, because we all come from a combustion engine history, and we all know what creates goosebumps on our arms.
Yeah.
So of course, and it's a major factor. So therefore, we were that relieved to see that it's working. And interestingly, it's not only working in North America or also in Europe. It's equally working well also in Asia, because this is where we take these two prototypes around the world to also not only, I mean, we spoke about different stakeholders in the business, but also geographically to get the input that we require from our clients and our partners in the US, as well as Europe, as well as Asia. Unfortunately, again, when it comes to the sound, it's working successfully globally.
And I thought the sound was, like I said earlier, I thought the sound was speakers, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it up again sooner, but it's not. It's not speakers. I thought it was like a 5,000 watt audio system. I'm like, wow, because you think about when I'm standing in a parking lot and some like electric Camry or something backs out, it's going, and it's making noise as it backs out because legally it has to. So I thought this was just really amplified electric noise, because like Hans Zimmer was like making sounds for different manufacturers for their EV sounds. So my inclination was that it wasn't real, but it's real. What is the sound that I'm hearing?
It's a straight cut transmission. So very much you hear the gears, or the gear. In fact, it's a single gear. So
that's something that you guys.
You would also hear it on regular, or let's say race cars with a regular combustion engine, but there it's just the engine noise that very much overlaps it. So
yeah, when you watch in-car video of like a GoPro, I mean, even like a E36 M3 Touring or Evo race car or something has straight cut gears, and you're in the cabin with a GoPro, all you hear is the gearbox, which is, it makes the cool whining sounds. Did you guys tune that sound at all? Was that something you're like, hey, this is the only sound this thing is going to make, we better make it sound pretty cool? Did you guys try, or was this just the outcome of the engineering?
That's the outcome of the engineering, because we focused on achieving, let's say, the aims that we had when it came to mirroring the GT3 Cup, and the sound wasn't, let's say, it was not our focus to create something artificially where we tried really hard to create some emotions that are not based on performance, or not, let's say, engineering performance, technological performance, or in general just the layout of the car. Let's put it like this.
So, one last question for you. To Oliver, to you personally, what makes a car cool, and does the GT4E fill that spot for you when you think of a cool car?
That's a good question. It's, to be honest, it's that goosebump effect, because that's still me. I mean, I had the discussion with quite a few friends and colleagues at Rennsport, where it's basically, I felt like a kid in a candy store, because it was my first time at Laguna Seca, and I went in there, and it was honestly like a dream come true. And this is why I say, for me, a cool car is a car that also me as a kid, or the 12-year-old that is still in me, will also say that's just awesome, So that's the kind of emotion. And with the GT4E performance, I get that from the performance and that effect the car has when it just blasts by on the straight, for example, and the sheer performance that this car creates. And that, I think, describes best what the emotions I have around the car, but also in general around cars.
Well, I want to thank you for working on this project and giving me hope, and giving a lot of people hope that, I think there's a lot of
us. I mean,
I know there's a lot of negativity around EV, right? And whether it's political or emotional or motorsport or whatever, there's all kinds of different viewpoints, and everybody's on this side or the other side. It seems very black and white, and it seems very tribal. And I think that stuff like this can bring people together, because the car is cool. I was, been doing this podcast for a very long time. And 5 years ago when we started, I was very anti-EV. I didn't get it. I didn't care. You couldn't strap me into a seat and watch a Formula E race. You couldn't do it. You couldn't pry my eyes open and get me to watch one. And
like Clockwork Orange.
Exactly. You couldn't get me to watch one. I just wasn't interested. And I think there's a part of me that goes, okay, well, this is what it's going to be. So you better get on the boat and learn about this stuff, or you're going to get left behind. One, and number two, there's people like you and your department and customer racing and stuff like that with this car that are really pushing for making it cool. You're still trying to do cool things. It's not like EV came around and everybody at Porsche went, well, guess that's the way it is now. See you later, and everybody walked out the door. You guys are still trying to do cool stuff, and I commend you for that. And I commend you for building this car. It's truly awesome.
To be honest, I think it all depends on, let's say, the size of the frame when you look at the development. And if you look at this technology and this development with the frame of 2, 3, 4 years, then yes, it's a huge shift. But I think if you open up this frame and if you say, okay, what technological leaps did we have in the last 50, 60, 70 years? And if you look ahead for 20, 30 years and look back at where we are now, I think, first of all, the technology will be totally accepted. It will create the same or very similar emotions around cars. And again, a very motivating factor for us is we can shape the future now. We have the shape of the future in our own hands, and we can play our parts. As I said, all these stakeholders around customer racing, we can play our part to make sure that we still enjoy, the hell out of it also in the future. And therefore, it's one of the coolest projects, if not the coolest project to be part of at the moment.
Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility, right? I mean, you guys have a huge weight on your shoulders to make this work. And seems like you're doing
to be honest, it doesn't feel like a weight. I mean, as I said, it's that to be in this pioneering role is something that you can only wish for, and therefore for us it doesn't feel like a weight. It's a gigantic motivation.
Oliver, thank you for hanging out with me today.
Yes,
I look forward to seeing you and your beautiful hair down the road.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you.
All right, Jake. Ready for the weight?
I'm
You
ready
haven't
for the
listened to
weight.
this episode yet, so I can just
No,
tell
I
you.
haven't.
It's 3,300 pounds.
Wow, that's
You know what also weighs 3,300 pounds?
what?
My Golf.
Really?
Just to give you a comparison, my Golf weighs 3,300 pounds.
See, that's really good. That's very impressive. I'm curious
impressive.
what the like actual range is, but that's amazing that they're able to do
well,
that.
the range
because that
is the thing is, I mean, you could tune the power. It's
You're
like
right.
power up. It's like a knob, more range, less range, more power, less power.
Yeah. More range, less power.
It's interesting that it's like you can just turn it on. Okay, we're going to do a time attack qualifying, or as they call it,
Okay.
party mode, which I don't know
Is
if
that
I'm
what
a
they
fan
call
of that.
it? Party mode?
It is, but like all I can think of is the party box that is the thing that you can put on a Tesla to be able to mess with the voltage and everything like that.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
if I'm a big fan
I'm
of
not
the
familiar
party
with
mode
that,
thing, but
Okay, regardless. So that's like just all
regardless.
the power. Who cares about
yeah,
efficiency?
just everything, just all
Yep.
of it. That would like
Okay.
time attack mode, I think is
Yep.
how that. Which I'm kind of
Got
like
it.
into the time attack thing after following what Mike has been doing with his Ferrari.
Yeah.
and
it's
like
very
watching the
cool.
live event with the time attack in Australia was pretty cool.
Yeah, just the idea of like we're just going as fast as you can. It's not wheel to wheel. Just make a car as crazy as possible and as fast as possible. That's a really cool concept.
Yeah, you versus yourself in the machine is basically what it comes down to. All right, guys, what have we got going on for next week, Jake? What's up? You've got I'm not sure. We've got 2 episodes that are coming out. I don't know which one I'm going to release, but
Okay.
let's do this one. This one's coming out in a couple of days,
We're
which
talking
means
about
next
this one,
week.
so you can't say that this is coming out later.
So next week we have Ryan, who wrote the Cult of GTR. He's going to be coming on to talk about his book.
Yes,
So
I'm excited
we
about
really
that.
look forward to that. And the weekend after that, I think, is you, Jake.
That's
I think
history.
That's you. Yeah. Do you
I
know
have
what you're
all
doing?
sorts of stuff lined up. I don't know
Okay.
which one I'm going to go with.
No, that's okay. Do you know what you should have done, Jake?
Tell me, what
you
should
could
I
have
have
watched
done?
me interview Oliver live. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure
You
I
were a
could have. How
Drivers
would
Club
I have
member?
done that? Oh, really?
By being a Drivers Club member, you can be in this super exclusive, top secret,
I don't think it's very secret.
only.
No.
Well, no. But we
That's
do have
not
a
secret. We're
secret
literally telling
member-only
everyone.
Discord channel where I post
Again,
the links.
not secret, but yes, members only.
It was a secret. Now it's not.
I don't think it's ever been a secret
What
that
is a
there's
secret
a
when
Drivers
it's not a
Club.
secret anymore? What's the name of something when it's not it's like if something is a secret,
Just
and you have a secret,
Yeah.
and then you tell someone it's not a secret anymore, what does it become?
knowledge.
You know what I'm saying? That there's no word. What's the word for that? What's the opposite of a secret?
I don't know. That's dumb, Chris. I don't know.
Gotta
Regardless,
look it up. Hold
yeah.
on. Opposite of a secret is, what is the word for not secret? Conspicuous, detectable.
Anyways, the Overcrest Drivers Club. For as little as $5 a month, you too can become a member supporting the show. You get access to exclusive content. We have an entire back catalog of Drivers Club only, member only content, as well as that Discord section of the section of the Discord. Yeah, section. I don't know what's the right word for
section,
that.
channel.
Channel.
Got
Sure.
its own
Yeah.
channel where we talk
which
about.
is very cool. VIP is
honestly,
only.
all we do is talk shit about non-Drivers Club members.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
Yeah.
specifically.
We make fun
Yeah.
of you all for being
Yep,
cheapskates,
which is
and not
why
supporting the show.
Yeah. We should actually start that. Feel like I'm the Drivers Club. Hey, let's make fun of everyone else that's not a Drivers Club member. Just start that as a thread. I'm gonna do it.
Perfect. All right,
All right,
guys, that's
what
it.
link? Wait, Chris, how do we find it? Where do we go to find
I
about
heard
the
your
Drivers
link
Club?
doesn't work. The one that I said last week doesn't redirect.
It does
So I'm
now.
going to give the
I
correct
fixed it.
link this time.
No,
You ready?
give any link you want. Any link you want.
Overcrestproductions.com/Drivers Club.
That'll work.
That is the correct link.
That'll work.
All right, guys, we will see you next week.
Take care.